Does Monday at the office feel like a storm? Not with Microsoft Copilot. That feeling when Copilot gets everyone up to speed instantly? It's sunny again. When Copilot simplifies complex data so your teams can act, that sun's shining on a beach. And when Copilot uncovers hidden insights, you're on that beach with your people, and you find buried treasure. That's Microsoft Copilot. Learn more at Microsoft.com/AI for all.
Today on CityCast Boise, it's Friday, and I'm with executive producer Frankie Barnhill to break down the biggest stories of the week. We're talking who gets hormones, a controversial Boise State professor's secret boys club, and our top picks of the week. It's Friday, March 15th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Woo, Frankie, we made it to Friday.
We did. We're here. Oh, my God.
It was a long one. It was a long one.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me to break down what's been going on this week. I thought we'd start with a segment I'd like to call Which Idahoans Get Hormones?
Yeah. Okay. I get it.
So let's dive right in. Let's talk about first who does get to access hormones. There's a bill that would extend insurance coverage for birth control up to 6 months instead of only 1 month. What's the latest update on that bill?
Yeah. So, right. As the system stands, I think you can get it. Sometimes you can get it for certainly 1 month pack of birth control pills, and up to 3, I think, for some insurers. At least that's what I've been getting is the 3 packs, which is better than the 1 pack, but it still is a pain in my butt.
Yes.
Every 3 months, got to go to the pharmacy, got to get it refilled. And it's like, how many times have I skipped or missed, which actually there's real data to back up how often people miss their birth control from the Kaiser Family Foundation. They did a survey to look into that. And the number, it's a lot of people that miss because they weren't able to get a longer set of birth control prescriptions.
Oh, I'm not surprised. I mean, that's kind of one of those things where you have it and then suddenly you realize, oh no, I only have like 2 days worth left.
I didn't realize that was my last pack.
Whatever.
Yeah,
I don't have time to run to the pharmacy today. So yeah, that's a huge risk.
God forbid I'm out of town and now I have to figure out how to get it at another pharmacy somewhere else. Yeah, that's definitely a thing that's happened to me before.
Yeah.
So the legislature has actually tried to address this problem this year. Surprisingly, I say surprisingly because they have tried in the past. But this year it looks like it's actually going to happen. So the Idaho House early this week, passed the measure just by 1 vote, just 1 vote.
Smallest of margins.
And that bill had started in the Senate and moved over to the House, and it passed both chambers. So now Governor Little gets to decide if it's going to go through, and I'm guessing that'll be a big yes.
Come on, Governor Little.
Come on, Governor Little.
Do it for us, please. Come on.
Yeah, make our lives just a tiny bit easier. It is rough out here, so that would be great.
That less regulation that you love to talk about, this would be so great. This is right on brand for you.
Yeah.
And Frank, you mentioned that we've seen this bill before, or we've seen iterations of it before. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, according to the Idaho Press, they counted it up. I think this is the 5th version of a bill meant to, have this access to contraceptives be a little bit easier. And it started in 2018 with former Senator Cherie Buckner Webb from Boise. She wanted to increase it to a year, and then later Senate Minority Leader Melissa Wintrow, also of Boise, took this on. And so this is a Women in Boise-led effort, and the Democrats have been wanting to see this happen for a while, and it looks like it's finally going to. And I don't know. I think, what do you think about this in the context of our abortion bans? This measure, like, finally looking like it's actually going to go through this year.
I mean, like we were talking about, the issue is when you have to pick this up every month or every couple months, you do risk missing a dose or missing a couple doses. And in a state like Idaho, that is a huge risk because the consequences could be life-threatening. Mm-hmm. And so just having that little bit of security, being able to get 6 months of this very important medication that could potentially be life-saving is, you know, and we didn't even get a year. You were talking about how Senator Cherie Buckner Webb wanted us to be able to get it for a year. So it's not even for a year. It's just 6 months. So I think it's really important. I mean, it was truly the very least they could do if we don't have access to reproductive rights. So I'm so glad that the Dems really, really pushed for this.
Yeah. And a bunch of other states. I read at least 24 other states and the District of Columbia do it for a full year. Make sure that insurers can make this birth control and contraceptive prescriptions available for 12 months, including some Western state like Montana. 12 months. There you go. Washington, Colorado, lots of other places do it for a full year. Nevada, too. I saw that one as well. Yeah, I just wondered, I wonder if the Republicans, they grinned and bared it and the slim margin, but they still passed it a little bit because of the fact that, election year, if there were any layers of that politics going into some decisions by any of these certainly moderate Republicans going okay, I've heard from people we maybe went a little far with these abortion bans. I've got to get behind it now, but perhaps this is a way to save some face and get some people not so pissed at me about reproductive care and access in the state.
Oh, absolutely. Abortion is not a winning election topic for Republicans. Nope. It hasn't been historically. And so I agree. I think they need something to, some kind of bone to throw to voters. No, I know we have this abortion ban, but you can get birth control. So we'll see how that plays out with the primary and then the general.
Yeah.
So now, Frankie, we have to talk about who the Idaho legislature decided doesn't get access to hormones. The House just passed a bill that would restrict Medicaid enrollees from having the ability to access gender-affirming care, which undoubtedly is going to be so stressful for all the Medicaid enrollees who need Viagra, testosterone injections. Sure. Oh, wait. It's only if you're transgender. My mistake.
Yeah. Be clear, Lindsay.
I know.
Yeah.
Silly me. If you aren't transgender and you have Medicaid, taxpayers will still be paying for you to get gender-affirming care. What's up with that?
Yeah, so we saw this last year in terms of targeting healthcare for trans folks in Idaho. Specifically last year, the big effort was a ban on gender-affirming care for kids. That's still tied up in the courts, but we saw that get pushed through pretty easily, to be honest, last year. So now they're turning to adults, and specifically adults on Medicaid, and I guess we should have expected this. I also think it's interesting, this was a bill that came from the House, specifically from Representative Julian Young, Republican from Blackfoot, who has been behind other bills that target trans folks. And, also this being Medicaid, which the state has to fund. The legislature is big mad about Medicaid costs right now.
Yeah.
They've been debating this and talking about it, and the budget, process has been hell. And I feel like that's an interesting wrinkle to this, too, even though voters overwhelmingly passed the Medicaid ballot initiative several years ago. And that's how we got Medicaid expansion in the first place. So the fact that they're targeting trans folks on Medicaid is something to definitely watch. And again, we shouldn't be surprised that they're doing this.
Yeah, it kind of combines two of their favorite things, trying to roll back Medicaid expansion that Idaho voters overwhelmingly supported, and trying to target transgender people, which has been a favorite of the legislature over the past few years. Frankie, I wanted us to talk about the justifications and explanations that the lawmakers have been giving for this bill. You mentioned Representative Young, and she was one of the bill sponsors. And she specifically said that taxpayers shouldn't be required to pay for procedures, treatments, and surgeries, which are controversial at best, with a note that all major medical associations in the U.S. support gender-affirming care.
Wait, she acknowledged that?
No. That's just an aside. That's an aside.
She's not acknowledging that is for sure. Yeah, because we know there's so many medical associations, as you said, international ones and ones based in the States that say that this kind of care is necessary. And there's like rigorous processes to make sure that, the patients who are receiving this care should be receiving it because it's medically necessary.
Yeah, it really makes me think that if we're having this conversation about whether taxpayers should be paying for procedures that maybe don't align with their beliefs or how
Sure.
they view the world, what does this look like with the growing anti-vax movement in Idaho?
Ooh, tell me more. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, Medicaid, Medicare, they pay for vaccinations.
Right.
And so if you're an anti-vaxxer and you don't agree with vaccinations, and now you don't want your taxpayer money funding vaccinations, are we going to be lobbying for that to not be covered by Medicaid? What about, I know that there's a movement of people who don't think that ADHD medication should be given to children.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
are we going to have a movement where, any medication that you don't like or don't understand or don't agree with, we can just legislate that you don't have access to it with taxpayer money?
Yeah, I bet this is so frustrating for you as someone who was a nurse and knows, what goes into these decisions in the medical world and how these, how rigorous this process is to decide what kind of patients should receive what kind of care and how careful doctors and providers are deciding that. And then it's now it's in the hands of people who do not have degrees that are, in any way that are qualified to talk about that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And clearly, like, just based on the questions they're asking, they don't understand the process. They don't, the questions they're asking doctors are trying to break down PhD level information and experience for legislators who.
Right. In simple layman's terms.
Read a pop psychology article and now they think, people shouldn't have access to that medication. I think it was also very interesting that a Boise doctor, Dr. Marvin Alviso, said that none of his over 400 patients that he's provided gender-affirming care to over the last 7 years have regretted hormone treatment. And after he said that, Representative Barbara Ehart from Idaho Falls said that made her distraught.
It made her distraught.
It made her distraught.
Okay.
Not the transgender people who maybe are losing their medication, but Barbara Earhart. And she said, there's something wrong here. Either we're not asking the questions or we're not actually helping our patients. Statistically, I think this is almost impossible. So because she didn't get the answer that she wanted, that overwhelmingly transgender people respond so well to this treatment and it improves their lives so much, she feels distraught about that and that maybe doctors aren't asking the right questions.
Right. The data is wrong. Yeah.
Yes.
Post-truth, we can't possibly look at the facts and acknowledge them for what they're telling us over and over and over again. It feels like it's a new frontier now that we're talking about adults in Idaho who are trans. And I'm sure anyone who is in that community and listening to this is like, yeah, we've been attacked for so long and having this be this very targeted way to do it. And I mean, I don't know. We don't know what the percentage of folks on Medicaid are that receive this kind of care. But we do know that folks who are trans are more likely to be lower income or middle income or struggle on occasion throughout their lives. And so, I could see that being a factor here, that there's probably a number of folks of our percentage of folks who are trans in Idaho who are on Medicaid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, they warned us that this was coming last year when it was, they were targeting trans children, and so many trans members of the community said they're going to come for adults too. Because a lot of people said, well, I'm concerned about the kids. What about the kids? And now we're seeing they really are absolutely coming for adults too.
I mean, next it's headed to the Senate, so we'll see what happens next. We're coming in close to the close of the legislative session, hopefully.
Hopefully soon.
But they can move quickly on this if they want to. So we'll see if it gets tied up in the Senate or not.
Okay, we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Shipping can make or break a sale, so optimize how you ship your orders with ShipStation. They make it easy to automate and manage orders no matter how big your business grows. And they might even be able to help reduce shipping and warehouse costs. So optimize and keep up your momentum for growth with ShipStation. Sign up for your free 60-day trial now at ShipStation.com and use the code POD. That's ShipStation.com with the code POD.
Dreaming of a better sleep? Tossing and turning is not your destiny. And Ollie is here to help. Ollie invites you to sink into sweet, sweet slumber to improve your mental and physical health and overall wellness. More than just melatonin, Ollie's ingredients help you unwind your mind for a delightfully dreamy drift off. Sleep is on the way at Ollie.com. That's OLLY.com.
Okay, Lindsay, I need to ask you a couple of questions now because I saw there was this piece, an editorial from the editorial board at the Idaho Statesman this week about someone that I know that you have followed for several years now.
Oh, yes.
And talked about on your TikTok, and that is, of course, Scott Yenor. Can you remind, is he still at Boise State? First off, is he like...
Yes,
yeah?
he still is. He's still listed as a professor.
Okay.
He still lists that as his credentials. And yes, Scott Yenor, he just keeps coming back like a bad habit.
He just won't go away. Okay, so this editorial was fascinating on a lot of levels. First off, I learned about SACR, which is called the Society for American Civil Renewal. What do we know about SACR? What is this group and his connection?
So Talking Points Memo, The Guardian, and then the Idaho Statesman had an editorial about this. So that's where a lot of this information comes from. So they are a group that is pushing for a national divorce or civil war. And they've even used language like having a regime change.
Ooh,
so
spicy.
Yeah. So, not just like a benign group of guys just getting together to bowl or something. And so they really like to emphasize that they aren't Christian nationalists. They just want to, quote, Christianize the civilization. And that kind of seems like a distinction without a difference.
Okay. Yeah.
And to join this super, super cool secret group, you have to be a white man.
Okay.
You have to have money or connections. They often use the term elite. They're looking for elite men. And you have to be Christian, but only certain flavors of Christian. So Mormons aren't allowed to become members. I know that might be an issue in this area.
Yeah.
And neither are Jews or Muslims.
Okay.
So it's a pretty specific group. You also have to embrace patriarchal authority. One of the questions to become part of the group or to enter the group is describe the dynamic of your household in terms of your role and that of your wife.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That really lays it out. But it's a national group. Like, it's not based in Idaho, but
Yes.
they've recruited Scott Yenor to this group, it seems like.
It looks like he is part of the national group, but they also have, they call them lodges in every state.
Like the affiliate in Idaho. Yeah.
It seems kind of like that. So, this group is kind of giving He-Man Woman Haters Club. And so Scott Yenor, and for people who kind of remember that, he went super viral for saying that women are too medicated, meddlesome, and quarrelsome.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, that made national news. And so for the national group, he serves as an ideological and organizational leader. But he's the president of the Boise Lodge.
And we learned, in the editorial, it seemed like, Talking Points Memo, they learned a lot of this and Yenor's connection in particular through a public records request because, as you said, he's still at Boise State and he was using his Boise State email to talk with these folks and conduct business around this lodge and this affiliation with this group.
Yes. Yeah. Pro tip, if you're going to have, a pro-Civil War secret club, maybe don't use your public university email. Your work email? Yeah, that can be use public records to access those emails. Yeah, that is a good tip. He had emailed basically all of the documents around to different members of the group. So there's just a whole trove of emails from him.
So now we know who else is in the group because the emails included them.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's how they found out who a lot of the top brass leadership were. That's how they found out about the different lodges. That's how they found out about, the qualifications, the questions, their objectives, all of that. That all came from Scott. Thanks, Scott. We always appreciate when you bring a good time. Okay, Frankie, let's take a hard right out of all of the wild and terrible news that we're
Yep.
always inundated with, let's take a hard right to what I'd like to call our top picks.
Ooh, okay.
Now, this
Yeah.
is going to be a segment where we can talk about any kind of a story, top story. It can be something opening that you're excited about, an event you're excited about, maybe something about fuzzy friends or somebody doing something amazing, or just a story that you thought was really, really interesting.
Okay, I love this. Yeah, honestly, my very top pick of this week is have you seen the forecast?
I have. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, I just need to run through it because yeah, it looks fabulous, and we talked about this, at the beginning of March, with how we just never know what March is going to bring. Obviously, in Boise when it comes to weather, and looking ahead to this time next week, Tree Fort will be in full swing, and so I think the forecast is always top of mind for anybody who's going to the festival, and yeah, it looks pretty good. Like, I mean, at least right now, this weekend looks gorgeous, sunny, high 50s. So not like, I don't know, what's your threshold for t-shirt weather in your mind?
It really depends. If there's no wind and just like really beaming sun, it can be high 50s. But
Okay.
I feel like it's got to be kind of like low 60s if you're going to have any wind or cloudy day. Otherwise, you're likely going to just a light jacket.
Okay, well, yeah, Saturday, high of 63, calm wind, sunny with a high near 65 on Sunday. So that sounds like right up I'll probably be in a t-shirt in that kind of weather.
Oh,
I guess
yes.
that's what I would say.
Oh, yeah.
And then the beginning of next week looks really good. And Tuesday is supposed to be sunny with a high near 70. So yeah. And then the question is, will it last until Tree Fort, which starts next Wednesday? And it looks a little bit sketchy. It probably won't be quite as nice, but we'll see. Well, maybe National Weather Service will have a nice updated forecast that we'll be surprised and happy by this time next week. So honestly, that's it. Is like, to me, it's all about looking ahead to that second half of March. We're here. It feels like once it cracks 65, it's like, okay, thank you, weather, thank you, Boise. You're making it happen and making flowers will start to come out and all of that. So yeah, that's my pick of the
I
week. To
say
be honest,
mood will lift. That is a fantastic pick of the week.
what are your top picks? Yeah.
Ooh, so my pick of the week was this article I found from The Statesman, and
Okay.
it was titled Legos and Murals, How Boise's Libraries Can Help Your Kids Fight Learning Loss This Summer.
Oh,
And I love library programs. My kids go to the library after school almost every day. They have a fantastic program where they have activities and snacks, and my kids can just hang out with their friends or do homework. And it sounds like they have a fantastic lineup of activities this summer, especially for kinetic learners. I don't know if we're still calling it that, but maybe kids who don't learn as well in a traditional classroom setting, but really getting a hands-on feel, getting to really learn and explore. And they're going to be going where the lunch programs are. So meeting the kids where they're at.
smart.
Yeah, reading to the kids. And it just sounds like they have this fantastic program set up. And they got a grant from Boise City Council to help them have this program. And so I saw that and I got really excited. I'm going to keep checking back and seeing what all the activities will be, make sure my kids are there because we love summer library programs.
Oh, I love that. Specifically on the Lego question, are your kids into Legos? Is that their thing?
I have one that was not so much anymore. And then I'm probably the Lego aficionado in my
Oh,
family. I do
really?
love a good Lego time. It's just,
Uh-huh.
you can turn on some music or a podcast and just listen and build and kind of be in your own little world. I do love some Legos. So that's a draw for me. I hope I'm going to take my kids and I'm going to play with Legos.
Oh, that's fabulous. I never really got into Legos as a kid. I kind of feel like I missed that. I don't know how. Maybe that just wasn't I was more into art, like drawing and painting and stuff. But as a parent, are you already starting to think about summer?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like how to keep your kids busy, how to keep them engaged, all that.
Oh yeah, I've already ordered our summer chore chart. Like it's the prep has to start really, really early, or we get to June and I'm like, oh, well, we didn't do it. Yeah, we do. We have a chore chart. We have workbooks. We have like summer cups, so I don't have 15 cups stacked up on the table and counter all the
Brilliant.
time. So
Brilliant.
there's a whole strategy to make summer just a really fun, less stressful time for everybody.
Well, that's great. It is kind of fun that we can be at this stage in this spring and enjoy spring, and then also know that summer's around the corner. Really, it'll come here faster than we think. So
Absolutely. Oh, I can't wait. Come fast, summer, please. You can't come fast enough. Well, thank you so much, Frankie. I think this was a great breakdown. And thank you so much for your top pick. That was great.
yeah, have a great weekend, Lindsay. It was fun to chat with you.
You too. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. The show is produced by Evelyn Avitia, Frankie Barnhill, and Dylan Brogan. And me, Lindsay Van Allen. Blake Hunter writes our Hey Boise newsletter, and our music is by Up Is The Down Is The. If you enjoyed our show today, leave us a review. It helps other people find us. We'll be back on Monday with your last-minute guide to Treefort. See you then.